Hagoromo Otsutsuki, also known as the Sage of Six Paths, is seen by many as one of the strongest characters in the Naruto series. Now I know I've already made a couple of videos about Hagoromo, and if you follow my Instagram, you know I've posted dozens of times about Hagoromo, but I decided to make this video because I feel like the other videos I made going over Hagoromo's inverse scaling was kinda mid, and there is some new arguments that I want to go over. So I decided just to make this video. And yeah, with that being said, let's get into it. Starting off, I'm going to go over why Hagoromo is stronger than any character in Shippuden, since this is going to be important for scaling him to the Boruto era, then the two Blue Vortex era. The reason Hagoromo is stronger than anyone in Shippuden mainly comes from him being the Jinchuriki of the strongest Ten Tails we've ever seen. We know for a fact Hagoromo's Ten Tails is stronger than the ones we saw in the War Arc, because Kurama notes that the only reason they potentially have a chance to fight the War Arc Ten Tails is because it didn't have the total chakra of all nine-tailed beasts. If the Ten Tails did have all of his chakra, then it would have been a hopeless fight. Another thing that's relevant for the Ten Tails is the fact that the Ten Tails is literally Kaguya fused with the Divine Tree. Kaguya was stronger than Six Paths Naruto and Sasuke, so Hagoromo becoming the Jinchuriki of something with all of Kaguya's power plus the Divine Tree's power would naturally make him the strongest being in the original manga. Now that I've established why Hagoromo is the strongest, at least in the original manga, I'm going to quickly go over the common debunks people try to use against him. The first one being the idea that the Kaguya from the past that actually fused with the Divine Tree is somehow weaker than the one from the War Arc, which would mean Hagoromo doesn't scale to War Arc Kaguya. This is easily debunked though when you carefully go over the story. We know Hagoromo went around giving Kaguya's chakra away to the humans, and during the War Arc, Zetsu actually says that only a large amount of chakra that Hagoromo gave away had been collected. So War Arc Kaguya was somewhat close to having all her chakra back, but she wasn't at 100%, whereas Hagoromo would have had all the chakra and more inside of him. The next thing I want to go over is the statement from Hagoromo about Kaguya being stronger than any other. People randomly assume Hagoromo is saying Kaguya is stronger than himself as the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, when they can't really prove he's saying that. Hagoromo is most likely saying Kaguya is stronger than the version of himself before he became the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, since that's when Kaguya was actually around him. Another statement that's used is Hagoromo saying Ten Tails Madara is close to his level, but again, people randomly assume this statement means Ten Tails Madara scales the prime Ten Tails Jinchuriki Hagoromo, when there's no reason to believe that's what the statement is saying. It's much more likely this statement is referring to Madara almost having both Rinnegan, then going to awaken the Rinne Sharingan. The databook also agrees with my interpretation, because it says when Madara got both Rinnegan, that's when the true power of the Six Paths were released. If you don't agree with that interpretation, we can also just say Madara is getting close to Ghost Hagoromo's power, since Ghost Hagoromo is the one making the statement, and Hagoromo in its prime as a Ten Tails Jinchuriki would just be way stronger than that. The last statement to cover is this databook statement that says Indra inherited all of Hagoromo's power. I honestly can't believe some people actually think Indra scales the Ten Tails Jinchuriki Hagoromo, but they do exist. Anyways, when you get the actual Japanese text, the word used here is chikara, and that can be translated to power, but it can also mean capability. It makes way more sense for this to mean capability, since Indra is always hyped up as being super talented. So the databook telling us that Indra inherited Hagoromo's skills, then went beyond them, makes sense for Indra's narrative. But Indra physically scaling to a Ten Tails Jinchuriki doesn't make sense at all, and it's not really implied anywhere. Now that I've explained the narrative behind Hagoromo's power, and addressed the common downplay points people bring up, I'm going to go over why Hagoromo should scale into the Boruto era. As I mentioned earlier, Hagoromo as a Ten Tails Jinchuriki scales above the strongest version of Kaguya that we know of, since all her chakra would have been a part of the Ten Tails. And according to Boruto Novel 3, Kaguya is actually the strongest villain up until the Boruto era, which means she does in fact scale over Toneri. I know there's the infamous promotional material statement that says Toneri is the strongest enemy, but you can easily interpret that to mean he's the strongest alive at that time. Plus, realistically, a novel statement is way more credible than a random piece of promotional material. The reason Kaguya being stronger than Toneri is important is because it's stated in the novelization of Naruto the Last that Naruto had to use all his strength to defeat Toneri. Some people try to rat and say Naruto only used Kurama Sage Mode in the movie and he wasn't trying his hardest, but that's definitely disingenuous to say. We know Naruto the Last started production over a year before the Naruto manga ended, and Naruto got 6-pass Sage Mode 7 months before the manga ended. So the creators of the movie didn't know he was going to get that mode and didn't incorporate it into the movie. Narratively, Naruto is supposed to be at full power during the movie, and it's actually stated Naruto is stronger in the movie compared to his War Arc self. So since it took a full power Naruto to defeat Toneri, and Kaguya is stronger than Toneri, that would mean Hagoromo as the Ten-Tailed Jinchuriki would scale far beyond the power of any character we see in the Naruto the Last, and that 100% puts him in the Boruto era. Naruto at the start of the Boruto era was implied multiple times to be rusty, and even in his rusty state, he was capable of fighting against Momoshiki. Now I'm not arguing that Naruto got weaker, but him being rusty would go against the idea that he's been training over the years and getting stronger. So if Naruto being extremely relative to himself from the last movie, and Kaguya being stronger than Toneri, that would mean Kaguya should still be above Naruto from the Boruto era, and therefore Hagoromo would be above him too. And before some people try to bring up Kaguya being scared of the Boruto era Otsutsuki, the only thing we know for sure is that she was scared of Momoshiki, Kenshiki, and Orishiki trying to jump her together. It's never stated that she was scared of an individual Otsutsuki. So narratively, her being on par with, or even being slightly stronger than someone like Momoshiki, doesn't contradict the statements of her being scared of all 3 Otsutsuki jumping her at once. Now we've reached the final part of the scaling, and I'm going to give my reasoning as to why I think Hagoromo scales to characters like Isshiki and even 2 Blue Vortex characters like Boruto and Jura. This part isn't as set in stone as the previous parts, but I do think it's worth considering. In 2 Blue Vortex, we found out that some Jinchurikis naturally have a better affinity to their tailed beasts than others, and this fact is what led Himawari to pushing Jura to using his true power for the first time in the manga. Jura using his true power for the first time on Himawari is important because we know he fought Kawaki beforehand and two-shot him, and Kawaki in 2 Blue Vortex arguably has higher durability than Isshiki because it's stated Kawaki's defensive abilities are above maximum level, and Kawaki's maximum level should be Isshiki level because Kawaki did become a full Otsutsuki as stated by Code, and the karma is supposed to change your body into the Otsutsuki's body who gave you the karma. So suppressed Jura being able to two-shot Kawaki, who has this enhanced beyond Isshiki level durability, then being forced to use more power on Himawari relates to Hagoromo because Hagoromo should have a far higher affinity to the Ten-Tails than Himawari does with the Nine-Tails. Kurama credits Himawari's affinity to her having Uzumaki and Hyuga DNA, and we know Hagoromo is the ancestor of the Uzumaki clan and the brother of Hamura, who is the ancestor of the Hyuga clan. So his genes should be much better suited for being a Jinchuriki, and since he became the Jinchuriki of the Ten-Tails, the amp he would have gotten to his power should far exceed what Himawari got with Kurama. I'm going to try to put a picture on screen so you can visually see what I'm saying. Base Hagoromo should naturally be stronger than base Himawari, since Himawari was literally losing to Chocho, and Hagoromo becoming the Ten-Tailed Jinchuriki and having a better affinity to it compared to Himawari and Kurama should mean he became way stronger than Himawari did with Kurama. And since I explained earlier how Himawari scales above Kawaki, who has beyond Isshiki level durability, that should mean Hagoromo scales far above that same Kawaki. If Himawari genuinely made Jura use his true power, then there's no doubt in my mind that Hagoromo would defeat Jura, since he's the Jinchuriki of the original Ten-Tails, who stated to have nearly infinite chakra, and Hagoromo's affinity for it would be crazy high too. So yeah, with all that being said, that's about it for this video. I know I haven't posted a video in a while, and the reason for that is because I got a job in real life, and it's been taking a lot of my time away. But if this video does do good, then I'll do my best to start uploading more like I used to. So if you want to make sure I upload more, please like the video and subscribe to see more. And yeah, thanks for watching.